evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wednesday, August 5th meeting of the Lebanon Utility Service Board. Let the record reflect that all board members are present and the meeting was appropriately notified. Please now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item tonight is the approval of the minutes from the July 8th, 2020 meeting. Everyone had a chance to review the minutes? If so, I would entertain motions to approve those.
I make a motion we approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Jim to approve the minutes from the July 8th, 2020 meeting. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Next item on the agenda tonight is the wastewater treatment plant final change order. Ryan Ottinger is here tonight, as he always is, and we'll go through this for us. Hey, Ryan.
Good afternoon. This change order is for the wastewater treatment plant expansion. This is change order number 3, and we'll kind of close the change orders for Thieneman and wrap everything up on that. The majority of this changeover were some improvements that we were able to do that we wouldn't have been able to do or would have been much more costly without Thieneman's equipment already there. An example is a chlorine tank that will no longer be in use was just going to be an abandoned tank, which IDEM is not a big fan of any inspections when they just have an abandoned tank that they don't want any growth in it. They don't want standing water that's not, that's not part of the treatment process. So we were able to knock that wall down, fill that in, grass seed over the top of it. You'll never know it was there. Additional paving that was done that we needed to be done. They already had the pavers out there. The asphalt company's already out there. So we were able to get some stuff done that really improved and saved us money in the end. I do have Monty Gardner here, who was lead on this project from Wessler. So if there's something in the change order that anybody has any concerns or questions about, if I can't smile through it and act like I know, he actually does know. So he would be able to also answer any questions that we might have. The change order is for $161,157. This will, like I said, this will close us out on this as far as getting Thieneman paid and wrapping up this project. So if there's any questions on this change order, there's a whole list of stuff I know, so I'd be happy to go through any of the points or concerns or questions that anybody might have.
Ryan, you've indicated, it sounds like to me, that you feel like that it's in line and that some possible savings in the long run were obtained by doing some of these additional things as the equipment and the people were there. Is that right?
Yeah, so I went through this line item with my staff, the people who are there every single day, and just to double check that the charges were right and the scope of work that was done. I'm not there every single day double checking on this. We're doing other stuff, and they were all the charges fell in line, all the scope of work that's described in here fell in line. But yeah, Neil, we did just on that construction, or just the demolishing of that tank alone, all we were really charged was just time and maintenance, or time and materials. A lot of that equipment was already there, so we didn't have to pay to bring all that equipment in, to haul it in, because it was already part of the job. So they were just able to take the excavator and just charge us for the time and materials that they might have in it. So it's huge cost saving to us, time savings to us, and aesthetically, just little things like that are accessing putting additional drives in where we didn't have anything before. So making, in the wintertime, making our job, just plowing that off and be able to get to the pumps and getting to every building a lot easier. So some of the stuff was, a part of the project, but a majority of that was, or pieces of that were just us being able to benefit from having the construction crews out there, the stuff that needed to be done that you might not think about, when you're planning the project, or, just like any other project, you see a need for things as it develops, you see a need to add something or subtract something that you just couldn't have predicted when you were putting everything on a paper and in plans.
Very good. Any questions for Ryan or anything else for discussion on this item?
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
Yep.
Ryan, what was the total estimated budget of the project, and where did we come in total cost, even with the change?
That's a great question. I believe that, and Sandra might be able to help me on this without me completely calling her, catching her off guard. So the total cost was $7,899,112. And I'm so sorry. The total for the bond was 9.65 million, and then that was adjusted, if that's correct. That was adjusted to the 7,899,000. And the amount paid out to the bond is 7,437,000.
So I guess my point is we came in under budget to what we had originally intended to do. And we got more done with that money than what we had anticipated for originally.
Yeah, we came in under budget, and that's exactly what happened. We came in under our budget even with this change order, and were able to make improvements that weren't on the original scope.
Yeah.
So, so the difference in that is 461,000, even after this change order.
So good job.
It was one of the smoothest, well-ran projects, and my appreciation to Westler Engineering and to Thieneman. The flexibility, the communication, everything that you are concerned about with a major project like this were never a concern from my first day. This had already kind of started when I assumed this role, and they made the transition easy, answered every question, picked up every call. Monty got an email at 4:15 because I told him the meeting was at 6 and not 5. He got an email at 4:15, and you can see that even though there's no fans at the Indy 500, Monty'd be a great candidate to be a driver for the Indy 500. He made it here and right on time. So little things like that, giving somebody a 45-minute window instead of an hour 45-minute window, and them showing up are just is a perfect example of the cooperation that we had with everybody involved.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Aaron?
Yeah. First of all, we got a good bit of documentation in our board packet for this change order, and I just want to express appreciation for the complete and thorough documentation. And for the purpose of reporting to the public, there was a $9,650,000 bond issue passed for wastewater plant improvements. And there were 2 projects completed at the wastewater plant. One of them was the sludge dewatering project for $1,941,844. And the other one was the wastewater plant expansion for $7,437,187. Now, the plant expansion final cost came in $480,888 below the initial bid. But the 2 projects together ended up costing more than the bond issue. We had to spend out of our improvement cash $461,924 in addition to the bond proceeds. So I'm not bringing this up to express disappointment that we spent more than what we bonded, because I think we got a couple of really good and useful projects. I just wanted to fully report to the public. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's accurate, and we, there were some situations when, a good example is we kind of opened up the ground and there was some fiber going in 4 or 5 different areas that not only did we not know was there, we didn't know where it was going, so, and that was expensive. You don't just start ripping fiber out, but none of it was on the drawings or anything like that. So, there's always some issues, but I will say, and if you haven't had a chance to come by, I know Mr. Smith was able to take a tour recently. This wastewater treatment plant is one of the most impressive assets that we have as a utility. And
the UV treatment does away with the chlorine treatment. Big plus.
Yes. So we no longer use chlorine because of the UV technology that we were able to install, which is why we were able to get rid of the chlorine. The dewatering has cut our sludge hauling down because if you don't have any water in there as far as weight goes, and you're able to get more per trailer. So these projects have went spectacular, and also the end result, with us having much more capacity for growth, for residential, for any businesses, for any industry, is really the driving force behind that, and we were able to accomplish that. And so I think that's a major feather in the utilities cap to be able to prepare for the future the way we have.
Good stuff. Thanks, Ryan. Anybody have anything else for Ryan, or any questions, comments before we entertain some motions?
I'd like to make the motion, please. I move to approve final change order number 3 to the guaranteed savings contract with Paymentus Construction in the amount of $161,157.00 for the new wastewater treatment plant, closing the project with a savings of $480,888. I further authorize General Manager Ed Basquill to sign all closing documents.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Aaron, seconded by Jim, to approve the wastewater treatment plant final change order. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
Next item on the agenda is Paymentus credit card services. Mr. Basquill and Mr. Jacob are going to discuss this item for us tonight.
All right, Paymentus is the credit card company we were using before the NISC software, and we're looking at an early termination agreement, and Jeff's done a great job running point on this for us, so I'll turn it over to Jeff and let him explain.
Thank you. In 2010, thank you. In 2010, we entered into a master services agreement for our clients our customers to pay their utility bills through credit card. And that agreement was set to expire, and that service does not collaborate well with our new software system. Given some of the timing issues and delays in implementing our new software system, this agreement renewed. And the amendment is terminating the agreement early in September. We will owe some additional fees as set out in the agreement for that termination. A couple of things to note. Paymentus has been, after some initial bumps and working through the integration, they have been very good to work with in reaching this agreement. They understand that our difficulties are some technology issues with our current provider and some policy issues with them. And as you are aware, there is some savings in switching over to NISC. And NISC is taking some responsibility for that cost for the early termination. So all in all, I know that we've talked about this a little bit before. We've coordinated with NISC this November 15th termination date. I think in all, Paymentus stands ready to perform, but they understand the difficulties on our end, and we're kind enough to look at it from our perspective and allow us to step out of this agreement early. So having said that, the amendment effectively terminates the agreement with a buyout effective September 15th, 2020.
See, won't the change also have some operating efficiency improvements on making
Yeah,
in the future more efficient? Is that correct?
yeah, so I could speak to that briefly unless Sandra wants to, in how much detail, but
Yeah, Sandra has like a whole presentation on that in just a few minutes here, so.
Well, the only thing I wanted to add is I misspoke in our original meeting. I went back and talked with Matt and them, and yes, there's a lot of efficiencies, but when I said after hours, it would automatically reconnect, it does all the paperwork for us, and the meter guys still have to do it. So I misspoke to you guys on that part, but instead of the girls having to go in and check every 15 to 20 minutes to see if somebody's made a payment, automatically hooking to their system will automatically do all that paperwork. We don't have to look. It sends it out to the meter shop, and we're done with it at that point.
This streamlines it, much more efficient.
Yes, it's much more efficient.
And since you're at the microphone, there's a $98,000 fee to terminate the agreement, and it's going to be shared by all 4 utility divisions.
Correct.
And 3 of those utility divisions, that amount will fall within our budget this year without any budget overrun, so to speak. And the electric utility might have a budget overrun at the end of the year of $4,000 estimated. But that in a year's time, this changeover will be a $95,000 benefit to us. Is that correct?
Correct. The fees that we pay Paymentus right now are around $13,000, $14,000 a month. And with the new system, they offer us what's called a utility rate, and our fee will go down by approximately $6,000 to $8,000 a month. The more people that get on the system, the more money we'll see saved at that point.
Thanks, Sandra. So it's one of these, you pay some now and you gain that plus some later
Absolutely.
with the new upgrades and the technology, so. Jeff, you have anything else?
no, unless there's any other questions.
Any questions for Jeff or Sandra before we get motions here? All right, I'll entertain some motions.
I make a motion, we move to approve termination of Lebanon Utilities credit card service with payments.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Dan to approve the termination of the utilities credit card services with Paymentus. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thanks Jeff, Sandra, and Ed. Sandra's going to stay right there because the next item is for her. It's customer service or customer information in the billing system that we just referenced. Hey, Sandra.
Good afternoon. So we wanted to take this time to let the board know, kind of what we've been doing for the past few months and how things have been going. So just for a refresher, on April 18th, 2018, the board approved the purchase of this new CIS and billing system. And that includes all the customer information system, billing system, the meter data management software, Smart Hub, call capture, outage management, and work management.
Are you going to be talking about Smart Hub later?
Yeah, I was going to talk about it a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
So just so everybody knows, our legacy system, we got back in 1998, so it's been a really long time since we've updated the entire system. So training started in February or March of this year and intensified the first week of April. We had online training that entire week. Usually that's on-site training. They normally send 4, 5, 6 people in, but we had to do all of that online, and I will say the girls were champs because it was a real struggle trying to watch somebody on a screen and learn how to do something versus being able to sit at your own computer and try to do that stuff. After that, we spent May and June going in and testing a lot of stuff, and then in July, we went live with the new system. And our hope was we'd go, you go live, it's really smooth, everything works well, but we know that's not always the case. Millions of pieces of data converted in this process, so we knew July would be a little bit of a struggle. But even for our go live, normally there's 5 trainers on site, and they sent us in 2, one on service orders and one to share between all of the office staff. So that was also a struggle of them running up and down the stairs a lot. Cash register went well. We had a hiccup on the EFT side, and when I say hiccup, there was one bank that in the programming, the programmers didn't put in a leading 0, so everything from that bank bounced back to us. So we had to call all those customers and let them know to come in and pay. It took us a couple weeks to figure that out, but we did get that figured out, and that is running smoothly at this point.
Is EFT electric funds transfer?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's just where we go in and we grab their money from them. And then the credit card system is the other piece of that. And we're still having issues with the credit card system. It's a little bit less every day. But because the two don't talk to each other, meaning the customer information system and the credit card system, one file gets sent every night, there's a lag. And we'll have customers go on and pay, and then they'll go check their balance, and because it's not updated, they'll pay again. And we've had some customers pay 3 to 4 times, and they all went through, but they weren't thinking they were going through. So as we're seeing that kind of stuff, we're calling the customers right away, we're issuing credit refunds. It's getting less and less every day, but I'll say again, everybody's been real troopers because it's hard sitting down there and just knowing every time the phone rings, it's going to be somebody that we took too much money out of their bank account. It goes on their account and it shows as a credit balance, but again, they are not seeing that just because of the disconnect.
Hey, Sandra, well, sorry, I was just going to say, you're referring to the credit card system that we just previously spoke about?
Yes.
The old system that's going away, correct?
Yeah.
And the change that we just approved will alleviate this problem?
Yes, the change that we just talked about will be an immediate, they'll talk to each other immediate. When we do the switchover, we can't guarantee a few snags again, but we have to work through those as as you come across them, you work through those different issues. But we think that'll settle a lot of these issues. And again, like I said, we're working them every day. From a billing standpoint, kudos to the ladies. The bills only went out a few days late. And we bill about 2,000 customers at a time. So to get those bills calculated, go through, check all the bills, go through the high-lows, and get all that done, they really did an amazing job getting those out.
Was this checking that you're talking about verifying that the system's working properly, or?
It's verifying that it's working properly, but it's also verifying a lot of other stuff. We had issues where certain things weren't printing on the bill that we wanted printed on the bill. So those went out, but then immediately we had to call in, we got those corrected, new bills got printed and issued. We had a couple of bills that went out. One went out for $56,000. To a resident. They caught that within the same day, got the new bill, called the customer and said, hey, you're getting ready to get a bill, but don't look at that one, look at the second one. And it had to do with some of the reads coming across. But they are doing a fantastic job. Like I said, 2,000 bills at a time.
Are these hiccups being worked out and eliminated?
Yes. As soon as they get through the calc, they go through and start working on those, and then they fix the accounts almost immediately.
I mean, you won't have to do this double checking every month going forward?
No, you're still going to look at high-lows, but right now we are physically looking at every single bill.
Okay, thank you.
very time-consuming. From a metering standpoint, we had one big scare the first day, and we found out that the reads weren't coming across correctly. That got fixed before we ever billed it. So between the metering staff, the billing ladies, and NISC, to me, they did a fantastic job getting that. I think the gentleman at NISC worked well into the night fixing that so that it would be fixed by the next day and nobody would ever see it. And then the other big thing that we've implemented right now is Smart Hub. And Smart Hub is a great resource. Right now, we are still having some issues with it. We're fixing them one at a time. So if a customer calls in and says, hey, my account balance doesn't look right, immediately we take screenshots and we send those in. We had intended not to release that to the public yet. We really wanted to get it to where it was almost glitch-free before we release that to the public. We put up splash pages on the website saying, coming soon. Unfortunately, unbeknownst to us, and with COVID right now, everybody at NISC is working in their own homes, so they're not sitting across the table communicating with each other. Inadvertently, they sent out all the e-bills with a direct link into Smart Hub. We did not know that until customers started calling us. So it was quite shocking for us, but we adapted quickly. We called them, we got training for the girls, but it is still a little bit glitchy.
So the Smart Hub is an individual account access
Yes.
page? Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll show you a little bit of it here in just a few minutes. But I really wanted to, I don't think anybody understands how hard all these people have worked on this. People are working after hours, they're sitting in training classes day in and day out. We had the accounting ladies come down and answer phones and take customers while they sat in training. So everybody has been doing a fantastic job. And I think I said it in my email, but Angela and Matt have worked side by side with me for the past 3 months. They've attended every meeting. I couldn't have asked for more help. So I want to thank both of them. Angela's not here, but Matt is. But they've done a fantastic job in helping get this together. And then last, I don't have him on the list, but Ed deserves a lot of thanks from our part also, because I've really been unavailable for probably the last 2 months just working through issues. And he'll come down and he tries, he's like, hey, I don't want to bother you because I know you're busy. So Ed's been absolutely fantastic and supportive throughout this whole process.
Well, thanks for that, Sandra. I guess I should add, I don't want to interrupt your presentation too much, but I've been through a number of these transitions, and it's normal to have hiccups, and this one's really been the least painless, most painless, I guess I should say, not least painless, most painless one I've been through. So hopefully that continues. Thanks.
Thank you. The ladies have done fantastic. So what I was going to do is just show a couple videos, and one of them is really just, it's kind of more for the customers, for you guys if you haven't done so yet, but how to log in. And this one's the website. So that one's the website, and then I apologize for the music, it comes with the video. And these will also be posted out on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter so that customers can go on and watch these videos. And this one's for the mobile version. So those are the two ways to get into Smart Hub. I personally like the web version better, or the mobile version better. I think the mobile version's amazing. You can click on usage and you can see by hour your usage all night long for the last 24 hours. You can scroll to different days so I can see what I was doing yesterday, the day before, the day before. So I really like those. What we have up there is some of the marketing materials that we're using to introduce that out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and there's probably a couple other sites. So what I did here is I just took my account to kind of show you guys. When you first go into Smart Hub, this is what the home screen looks like. And if you notice, there's several buttons that say Pay Now. The one thing that this software does is it makes it really easy to pay your bill. Unfortunately, for Lebanon Utilities right now, the one with the arrow next to it is the only one that works. So they had to special put that link in because all of their links are hard-coded into their preferred vendor credit card sites. So right now it is very confusing for our customers. We are going to put something out also leading them to that button. You can still pay now off of our website. So on our website there's a big button that says Pay Now. All of that works. Just within Smart Hub, that is the only one that works. You can also go into Smart Hub and you can view your bills. So right now, you'll see view bill by July. They can't go back and pick up our past bills. They can, but it's a lot of work, and I think they're working on that, but until they get that in, those won't be uploaded. But every month from here forward that you get a bill, that's gonna load in. You can click on that, and when I click on that, it brings up an image of exactly what I got in the mail or by email. So I think that's really nice. Our customers have never been able to do that. This is what a usage screen looks like, so our customers can go in and say, show me the last 24 hours. And if you look at mine there, you can see that normally between 8 and 9, we have quite a surge. And then you can see at 2 in the morning, one of my kids gets up and kicks on the air conditioner. Every single night, because I'm freezing in the morning, and that's exactly what happened, is that they wake up and they have the upstairs. Heat rises, so they go up and they kick on the air conditioner. So I love this feature because this really, when somebody calls in and says, hey, my usage is really high, customers can go back in and see exactly when it was. They can, maybe they remember, oh yeah, I was running something that day. There's also a part on there where you can report an issue. Right now, they only have 3 things in the Dropbox, but you should be able to report a service issue, report an outage, report, if a branch has fallen on your line outside and you need to report that, you can do all of that within Smart Hub. So that's really all I wanted to share with everyone, kind of wanted the public to see that. We're really excited about it. We just want, everybody to be patient with us and know that we're working out all the issues as quickly as we can. Any questions?
Hey Sandra, I was just going to ask, and Jeff probably mentioned it, but will the transition to the new credit card processor happen immediately, or will that be done when we end that contract in September?
It'll be effective September 15th,
Okay.
and there'll be a cutover at
Same
mid
time.
1201 kind of thing.
Anything else for Sandra?
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Good presentation, thanks. Speaking of presentation, next item is an availability fee presentation that Ed has, and it's pretty good, and he's going to go over it here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Right now, Matt's hooking up the computer for me, and I just wanted to explain what availability fees are. I'm going to take you from what we used to say in the Navy, soup to nuts, meaning the initial course to the final course on availability fees to educate the public and just explain why they're important to the utility. I want to try and dispel some myths about availability fees and just go through and make an educational presentation. So, all right, and I think we're ready with the first slide here. Hey, Ryan,
Does it need to be up there?
yes. Well, actually, I think Matt's going to run back to his office and press the magic button, I think.
Oh, don't have it.
I'll tell you what, while Matt's working on that, I want to report, Mr. Chairman, the next item with the financial report, I don't, with Paymentus problem and the NISC transition, I don't really have a clean financial report today. So I've been talking to Sandra. We don't have an exact number on disconnects. So I'm going to request we table that, and I will send something out on email as soon as we have it, because the date of the board meeting versus the closing date.
Yep, sounds good.
It was just too close.
Okay.
Okay, this is and here we go. Thanks, Ryan, and thanks, Matt. Today's discussion, what is the impact of availability fees? What are availability fees? They make capacity available. What do they cost? When were these fees adopted? And just kind of summarize it and see if the board or public has any questions. Water and wastewater system capacities are finite, and expansions are funded either by new customers or existing ratepayers. There's a limited amount of capacity in the plant, and when we build more, the new customers should pay their portion of it. Availability fees allow growth to pay for growth. Availability fees are a standard industry practice factored into development pricing so that growth pays for growth. Lebanon's availability fees are lower than our neighboring communities. I want to work through an example of the impact of availability fees. Proposed development has 75 residential lots. These 75 residential lots are equal to 75 EDUs, or equivalent dwelling units. For water, those 75 EDUs equals $150,000 that the developer would have to pay for availability fees. Annual budgeted water revenue is about $3.7 million. If we didn't have availability fees, a 4% rate increase would be needed for $150,000 to be generated and funded by the existing ratepayers. With availability fees, there is no impact to the ratepayers, and growth pays for growth. This is a very important graph. Listed is the availability fees per EDU for water for Lebanon, Indianapolis, Brownsburg, Zionsville, and Whitestown. As you can see, these availability fees were the lowest on the list here in Lebanon. So our availability fees are competitive and actually lower than most of the surrounding communities. Availability fees are a charge to connect to a utility system to gain access to that utility service and the reserve system capacity. Availability fees charge each new customer a proportional fee for consuming their share of the utility resources. As new customers are added to the city, they create additional demands for water and also wastewater and consume the available capacity for each utility. Availability fees can be thought of as a system development charge. So the availability pays for a future capacity in the plant, and it's a revolving sinking fund that pays for that capacity. So. Monthly utility rates are set to recoup costs associated with the ongoing production of the utility service, just operating expenses like power, chemicals, staffing, and only provides a small amount of funds for additional capacity. Capital projects to increase capacity of the water and wastewater systems require major funding, which require rate increases, and availability fees help to reduce the size of those rate increases. What makes capacity available is water plants. So when we do a plant expansion, water storage tanks, capacity based on tank size and ability of the storage tank to help regulate pressures, provide fire flows, and water distribution lines. For wastewater, it's the wastewater treatment plant, lift stations and force mains, gravity trunk sewers, based on the size and slope of the pipe. What do these fees cost? Whether the user is a single homeowner or a major corporation, they only pay availability fees to secure the capacity they need, their slice of the pie. We're trying to make it fair on everyone and treat everyone the same.
Right, and that's where the EDUs come into play, right? The equivalent dwelling units, like a commercial business will have several dozen equivalent dwelling.
Yes, sir, that's exactly right. That's why we use EDUs, because we're breaking it up by flow and making sure that it's fair for everyone. So a large business will pay a larger availability fee based on EDUs. Our charge per EDU for water is $2,000 per home. For wastewater, it's $1,700 per home. And this slide addresses your question pretty well, Mr. Smith. It's new commercial and industrial users are also required to pay availability fees to connect to the utility system or increase their capacity proportional to the capacity they will utilize using the equivalent dwelling units. So in this particular example, this factory or business is equivalent to 9 residences. So they would pay 9 times $2,000 or $18,000 for their availability fee for water. Okay, when were these fees adopted? Water and wastewater availability fees were first adopted in Lebanon by ordinance in 2003. The water and wastewater availability fee amounts of $1,700 and $2,000 have not been changed since 2003. We're probably going to look and make sure those fees are still appropriate because with rising costs and have one of our outside consultants, Baker Tilly, do that calculation for us. The Utility Service Board adopted a policy in 2005 to provide availability fee credits for redevelopment projects.
So, I'd like to ask a question here. Dan, you and Jim were on the board back in 2005. Would you explain, please, what that action you took was? Or
Can I kind of set up, Dan, for that? Because we've been having a lot of discussions about this lately.
Okay.
Is that what it amounts to is if there's let's say there's a business downtown, and I think Brakeman comes,
Slide back up.
yes.
Go ahead.
There's a business downtown, and the business is vacant, and it's defunct, and someone else comes in, knocks the building down, and uses that same water and sewer connection.
Okay.
The idea is that they should have to pay something for their connection, because it's not, because they're adding onto the system, and it might be a different use, but they shouldn't have to pay the whole availability fee.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate
So
that.
if, yeah,
Thank you.
so if the prior business was that $18,000, like in the example, and the new one was actually equivalent to 18 homes, they would pay the difference. And we're actually in discussions with the city about making a more development-friendly policy, just to make sure we we encourage redevelopment. We want to help the city
The
encourage
redevelopment of
redevelopment.
existing customers. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Appreciate it.
So Ryan, do you have anything to add to that? Is that about
No,
correct?
Our talks have been basically, if somebody's going to use downtown for an example, if they're going to use an area downtown to improve it, we want to be a little bit more flexible and to promote that, the reuse, as opposed to building new buildings outside of town. And so that way you don't have abandoned lots or abandoned buildings or anything like that. So that's what the discussions have been about, is just trying to be more developer-friendly to reuse or redevelop an existing structure or existing lot, as opposed to a brand-new housing development or something to that effect.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. Okay, and in summary, availability fees are important in order to help control rates. Lebanon's rates and availability fees are competitive with neighboring communities. Availability fees are a charge to connect to a utility system to gain access to that utility service and to reserve system capacity. Availability fees help fund capital projects to increase capacity. And whether the user is a single homeowner or a major corporation, they only pay availability fees to secure the capacity they need. And with that, I'd like to open it up for any further questions, clarifications?
I think that's a good presentation, Ed, and especially with development coming, it's important that everybody understands what those availability fees are and how they're used and why they're important, so.
Thank you.
I would like to add that the importance of them to ratepayers is that 2 years ago, our chief financial officer came before us, and at that time, our finances were such that we might have to, in a very few years, consider a rate increase for wastewater. But then the next year she came back and she didn't have to make that same presentation about the possibility of a rate increase, because during that year we'd had actually more than budgeted for amount of availability fees. So the possibility of a rate increase was taken off the table because of the availability fees. So they're very valuable to our ratepayers.
Good stuff. Anything else? All right, thank you, Ryan and Ed, for that.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan.
The next item is the financial reports and information item. Ed mentioned that we want to go ahead and table that. I don't think we need a vote since it's an action, or it's an information item. So we'll have a financial report at a later time. The next item would be approval of claims. Claims for dated August 5th, 2020 in the amount of $545,406.22. Everyone had a chance to review the claims? Anybody want to make a motion to approve the claims?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Dan, seconded by Jim to approve the claims. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, claims are approved. Next item is other business that may come before the board. Anybody have any other business?
Yeah, I have one item. I would like to recognize Linda Ridgway. She's my executive assistant, and she just recently retired. She has served 4 general managers, served Lebanon Utilities for 12 years, and and been involved in board meeting, about 300 board meetings in her time here. And just kudos to Linda, thanks for your service, and I just want to give her a shout out if she happens to be watching, so, thanks.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I've only been on the board, well, the shortest period of time anybody here, but Linda has always been very cordial and extremely helpful, and I've always valued her, and I hope she has a wonderful retirement.
Yeah, I would like to add to that, Aaron. Linda's done an excellent job. She's been a very dedicated employee to Lebanon Utilities, and with her professional approach, she's helped us through some difficult times, and she has been an exceptional employee.
Yes, I echo all that, and Linda's always been very organized, and a big key to making these meetings run behind the scenes like she has, and so thank you, Linda, enjoy your retirement, and we appreciate everything you've done. Anybody else have anything for the board? Anything from the public? All right, our next meeting looks like it's scheduled for Wednesday, August 19th, 5 p.m. If there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Jim to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.